Shalom, I'm Eddie Chumney, Hebraic Heritage Ministries, and we welcome you to this week's Focus Israel Report. In this week's report, we're going to be sharing with you regarding the current status of the Israeli-Palestinian peace process, and it is as follows. On November the 29th, the United Nations General Assembly voted to upgrade the status of the Palestinians at the United Nations from an observer to become a non-member state based upon 1967 borders with East Jerusalem as its capital. 138 nations voted yes, 41 abstained, and 9 voted no. Within the 27 countries of the European Union, 14 nations voted yes, 12 abstained, and 1 voted no. While not officially a full-fledged member state of the United Nations, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas declared that the UN General Assembly vote was the birth certificate of a Palestinian state. As a result, Abbas said that the Palestinian Authority will officially change its name to a Palestinian state. The new name will appear in the letterhead of official forms and documents and on all government websites. Furthermore, a new State of Palestine nameplate was put up in the UN General Assembly by Palestinian envoy Riyad Mansour. Mahmoud Abbas dedicated the UN victory as being a gift to the soul of the late Palestinian leader Yasser Arafat. He went on praising Arafat, saying, "This is the day that you dreamed of and fought for." Abbas said that the Palestinians would continue to march in the footsteps of Arafat. Yasser Arafat was the leader of the PLO. He died on November the 11th, 2004. The PLO was founded in 1964 by Egyptian President Gamal Nasser. Its stated aim was to work to reclaim the state of Israel from the Jewish people. Arafat became leader of the PLO in 1969. In speaking about the results of the UN General Assembly vote, Abbas said that the world said yes to Palestine's freedom and independence and no to the occupation and settlements. As a result, Mahmoud Abbas declared Palestine is a country under occupation. In speaking to supporters in Ramallah during a rally organized by the Palestinian Authority to celebrate the UN General Assembly's vote, Abbas said he would focus his efforts now on restoring unity of the Palestinians and their lands and institutions. The Palestinian faction Hamas, who governs the Gaza Strip, responded to Abbas's call for unity by calling for urgent meetings between the two sides to solve their differences. Israel believes that the UN General Assembly vote was intended by the Palestinians to gain recognition of a Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital by the international community, while bypassing achieving that objective through direct negotiations with Israel. As a result, the Israeli cabinet voted to reject the UN General Assembly vote because the 1993 Oslo Accords, signed between Israel and the Palestinian Authority, mandated that all final status issues were to be resolved between the parties through direct negotiations. The Israeli cabinet passed a resolution which stated the following: "The Jewish people have a natural, historical, and legal right to its homeland with its eternal capital, Jerusalem. The state of Israel, as the state of the Jewish people, has rights and claims to areas that are under dispute in the land of Israel." Furthermore, the Israeli cabinet declared that the UN General Assembly resolution will not become the basis for future negotiations between the State of Israel and the Palestinian Authority. Before the cabinet meeting, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu stated that Israel will increase and hasten settlement activity in response to what he labeled an attack against Zionism. Netanyahu said, "Israel will not allow Judea and Samaria or the West Bank to become a terror base from which rockets will be launched into Israeli towns." He also said that there would be no Palestinian state unless Israel is recognized as a Jewish state, and there would be signed documents wherein the Palestinians would agree to end the conflict and all claims with Israel. Netanyahu said that Israel has the right to respond in a way that it chooses when the Palestinians take provocative action against Israel. So as a result of the UN General Assembly vote, Israel Finance Minister Yuval Steinitz announced that tax money that Israel collects for the Palestinians on a monthly basis will not be transferred to them. Instead, those funds will be used to pay part of the Palestinian Authority's electricity debt to Israel, which has been in arrears for some time. The Palestinian electricity bill debt amounted to about 2 months of tax money. The Palestinians responded to the Israeli decision by calling it an act of piracy and blackmail. In further reaction to the UN General Assembly vote, Israel decided to approve the construction of an additional 3,000 housing units in Jerusalem in the West Bank. In addition, the planning procedures of thousands of additional Jewish homes in Jerusalem and in the Jewish settlement blocks in the West Bank will be advanced, including in the segment connecting the West Bank city of Ma'ale Adumim with Jerusalem, known as the E1 project. Building an E1 would create a contiguous between Jerusalem and Ma'ale Adumim to the northeast beyond the 1967 borders known as the Green Line. Prior to the UN General Assembly vote on November the 29th, the United States urged Israel to not allow construction in the area known as E1 between Jerusalem and Ma'ale Adumim as a possible response to the Palestinian UN bid. Palestinian chief negotiator Saeb Erekat condemned Israel's announcement, saying it was defying the whole international community and insisting on destroying the two-state solution. In speaking about the decision, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said that Israel will continue building in Jerusalem and every place on the State of Israel's map of strategic interests. The international response to the Israeli decision to announce building plans in the West Bank and Jerusalem, including the E1 area, was swift and harsh. For years, U.S. and European officials have told the Israelis that E1 is a red line for them. The United States said that they were blindsided by the decision and that it was counterproductive to achieving a two-state solution. British Foreign Secretary William Hague said Israeli settlements are illegal under international law and undermine trust between the parties. Britain, France, Spain, Ireland, Sweden, Denmark, Finland, Brazil, and Australia summoned their Israeli ambassador to protest the decision. German Chancellor Angela Merkel threatened Benjamin Netanyahu in a meeting between them to renounce their plans to build additional Jewish homes in the West Bank and Jerusalem or face international isolation. In a press conference with Merkel, Netanyahu defended the Israeli decision to go forward with plans to build Jewish homes in the E1 area. Netanyahu said that E1 is a small corridor between Jerusalem and Ma'ale Adumim. Furthermore, he said that successive Israeli governments, beginning with Yitzhak Rabin in the 1990s, continuing on to the former Prime Minister of Israel, Ehud Olmert, have said that E1 will be incorporated into a final peace treaty between Israel and the Palestinians. Netanyahu continued by saying, "The curious thing is that most Israeli governments who have looked at these suggestions and these proposals over the years, including the Palestinians themselves, as revealed in leaked documents, understand that these blocks, these arrangements are going to be part of Israel in any final political settlement for peace. Therefore, I have not changed the policy of Israel, seeing that E1 will be a part of Israel in any final peace agreement signed between Israel and the Palestinians has been a consistent policy of Israeli governments." Israeli officials believe that the United States approved the summoning of Israeli ambassadors by various European nations. These officials said, "We would not be mistaken to say that Europe was acting with the encouragement of the United States. The United States authorized Europe to put political pressure upon Israel and seek to punish them for their decision following the UN vote. The European move is essentially a U.S. response as Britain asked the United States how they should handle the situation," the official said. The U.S. decided that it would not punish the Palestinian Authority for submitting their upgrade bid at the UN General Assembly on November 29th, although they voted against the measure and strongly condemned it after their no vote. The U.S. Senate was considering imposing restrictions on the $600 million in annual U.S. aid that is given to the Palestinian Authority, but in the end, the U.S. Senate decided not to impose any restrictions upon the Palestinians. Former White House Chief of Staff Rahm Emanuel made comment about the Obama administration's attitude toward Israel as reported by the New Yorker magazine. It is reported that Emanuel had spoken angrily and bluntly about the way Netanyahu has repeatedly betrayed the friendship of the United States, pointing to his embarrassing the Obama administration by taking punitive actions against the Palestinian Authority after the Obama administration voted against the Palestinians at the UN, supported Israel during the recent Gaza fighting, and funded the Iron Dome missile defense system. He also criticized Netanyahu for lecturing Obama during a meeting in May 2011 after Obama said that a Palestinian state would be established based upon 1967 borders with agreed land swaps. Emanuel said that Obama would no longer tolerate this type of behavior from Netanyahu. Israel reacted to the international pressure with grit and greater resolve. An Israeli spokesman said there will be no change in the decision that has been made. In fact, Israel advanced an additional building project in East Jerusalem, which is expected to have about 2,600 homes. In truth, Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu contended that the conflict with the Palestinians is not about land, but it is about the existence of the State of Israel. Netanyahu explained, Israel has left various areas captured in the 1967 war, like the Gaza Strip, but Hamas has fired missiles into Israel's towns and cities. The root of the conflict is the very existence of the State of Israel and the refusal by the Palestinians to recognize the State of Israel in any borders whatsoever. He noted that Palestinian maps consistently show Palestine as the entire area from the Jordan River to the Mediterranean, illustrating a lack of acceptance by the Palestinians of Israel's right to exist. Despite all this, Netanyahu said that he is still committed to a two-state solution, which is negotiated and results in a demilitarized Palestinian state that recognizes Israel as the state of the Jewish people. However, despite a promise before the November 29th vote that if the UN General Assembly upgraded the Palestinians to become a non-member state, that he would enter into direct peace talks with Israel without any preconditions. After the vote, Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas took the following position. He is willing to restart negotiations with Israel right away, but on the condition of what he said were UN resolutions that brand Israel's West Bank settlements as illegal. Abbas said, the Fourth Geneva Convention now applies to the state of Palestine within the 67 borders. The lands of the state of Palestine are occupied, and it is forbidden to make any demographic changes in them. It is forbidden to transfer the citizens of another country to our state. The presence of Israeli settlers is in violation of international law. In the letter to UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon and the UN Security Council, the Palestinians accused Israel of war crimes by expanding Jewish settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and that Israel was behaving in a rogue, hostile, and arrogant manner, contravening all principles and rules of international law, and reacting with contempt to the will of the international community. What is important now is that the state of Palestine and its capital, East Jerusalem, are under occupation. We will never accept a Palestinian state without Jerusalem, he said. In the letter, the Palestinians insisted that a clear message must be sent to Israel that all of its illegal policies must be ceased, or that it will be held accountable and will have to bear the consequences for its violations and obstruction of peace efforts. The Palestinians have called continued Israeli building of Jewish homes in the West Bank and East Jerusalem, especially plans to build in the E1 area, as a red line for them, which the international community cannot allow Israel to cross. Well, that's going to conclude this week's report. Until we do it again, Shalom, in Yeshua the Messiah. Amen.